was still him.
I feel like once he went down to bantamweight, he was not him. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to Road to Gold, episode 12. Here with my man, I Ain't Ask You, my boy Ron. How you doing, man?
I'm doing all right today. Nice little Friday. Another pay-per-view on the brinks. How are you feeling?
I'm feeling pretty good. You know, we're gonna see our Cleveland Cavaliers in all their glory. They're gonna finish up the series tonight. Get out of there in 6. See the Boston Celtics next. I'm already preparing for that. But other than that, you know, like you said, got a good pay-per-view coming up this week. UFC 301. It's in Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. We got some names. We got some title fights. A lot to look forward to, man. What are your first thoughts when you heard this card announced in Rio?
You know, when I first heard this card, especially it being in Rio, I thought back to some of the best matchups we've had in Brazil, some of those crazy cards, especially featuring Jose Aldo. So that's the first place my mind went to. So all I can imagine is I just need those kind of vibes. I think this card definitely has potential to give me those classic Rio de Janeiro vibes of mayhem. That's all I can say, mayhem.
Some good energy. Every single fight on this card features a Brazilian fighter, which we're gonna see some of that Brazilian spirit. You know, maybe we'll see a Colby Covington call out after the fight. I don't know. I would appreciate that. I'm not gonna lie. I don't know if there's anybody on this card that would do that, but we'll have to see. But without further ado, let's just jump right in, man. Let's just jump right in. Opening bout on the main card, we got Paul Craig versus Cow. I think
it's Chow, because I know Chow is spelled that way.
It's not Chow.
Yeah, I know Chow is spelled exactly like that.
That's Italian.
I was like,
no, it's not. That's Italian. It's definitely like cow. I think Barallo.
You're probably right. But every time I see it, I'm like, that's Chow, bro.
I just don't want you to say that. But regardless, my boy, I like to call him Paulo. He looks like Paulo Costa if Paulo got kind of stretched out and was a little thinner, a little faster, because they're both middleweights and they both remind me of each other. But that's a good fight, man. Paul Craig versus Cow. I don't know. Cow. I'm gonna call him Cow. I'm sorry. That's a good fight. It's interesting. Paul Craig right now is plus 425, which he's a huge underdog for somebody that's kind of a UFC staple. What are your thoughts on that?
Honestly, I don't know why the odds are that crazy. Personally, because I mean, Paul Craig, he's a veteran. He has a sick ground game, and he's not someone you could just like bully striking wise. So, I mean, granted, you know, Cal probably will have the advantage there. It'll be obvious. But if he's too aggressive, the opportune takedown will probably happen. And then from that point, I'm not going to say it's going to be one-sided, but I mean, Paul Craig is 13 wins by submission. You can only imagine there's probably going to be, you know, a lot of fishing for maybe a Gilly, maybe a Darce, arm triangle, Kimura, you know, some submission that Paul knows that, you know, he's done a million times in the past. As long as the fight is striking, I'm going to give the advantage to Cal. And I understand that probably, yeah, I mean, obviously, I believe Cal will win the fight, but I think 400 odds is crazy. Like, if I was as a betting man, if I was a bet on this fight, I would go Paul Craig, just off the pure fact that he's so experienced and so good. I mean, a takedown's bound to happen. You know, a submission, some wrestling. I mean, come on now, he's not no scrub out there.
I mean, I that is kind of an aggressive line to have somebody as experienced, as fortified as Paul Craig to be there. But this other gentleman, he is the real deal. Well, I shouldn't say the real deal, but he's something to be reckoned with too. I don't think he's going to be scared of Paul Craig's jiu-jitsu. I don't think he will be. I think, if you've seen Kyle's fights, he's landed, I think, a takedown in his last 5 fights. He has multiple submissions recently. Like, he's more than equipped to be on the ground with somebody like Paul Craig now. I know Paul is the man. I know he's
Paul Craig
standard, but similar. If you remember when we were talking about Manon Fiorot versus Aaron Blanchfield, it was a matter of, okay, somebody's way better on the ground, somebody's way better on the feet. Which one is more of a drastic difference? And in that fight, I said, hey, I think Manon's defense is better than Aaron Blanchfield on the feet, if that makes sense. I think this is kind of a similar situation. I think Cal on the feet is going to be just that much better than Paul Craig on the ground, if that makes sense.
Like I said, I don't want to combat this too much because, like I said, I do believe Kyle will win this fight. But I don't know, man. Paul Craig, he's seen a lot of the best in his day. He's submitted some of the best in his day. I think you'll be really going against your advantage to take Paul Craig down, even knowing that you have the the background of being able to hang with him there. Do you want to hang with Paul Craig down there? Is that I think that's a risk you're taking. That's so unnecessary that you could be risking the fight just by doing that. You probably should keep this on the feet, keep this standing up, keep this striking. But if you go to the ground, you're opening up a window for Paul Craig to sneak one out, and that would be a bad way to go outside.
No, you're not lying. I mean, some of these fighters, they have the ego about them where it's, hey, I want to beat you at your own game. Sometimes it works, sometimes it backfires.
Yeah.
Sometimes you can't help it. Like we seen Jamal Hill versus Paul Craig. This was back when Jamal was kind of fresh in the UFC, and Jamal was clearly winning on the feet. Paul Craig eventually, I think he might have pulled guard that fight. Like it was one of those types of things where he got it to the ground, ended up, I think he dislocated either Jamal's shoulder or his elbow. It was one of those. And he got the win on the ground for somebody that was losing the fight by that much on the feet. So I agree. I don't want to see Cal go to the ground here. I know he will, though. He's in Brazil. BJJ, fanatic.
I feel it.
You should be proud of him.
Hey, I am. Don't get me wrong. I am.
But ultimately, I think I'm not going to say this line is accurate. They got Cal at minus 650 right now. It might be a little much, but I'm also rolling with him. So we'll have to keep track of that one. Next fight, we got Michel Pereira versus Ihor Potieria. This is should be a high octane fight. I mean, we know what Michel Pereira does, man. Although he's not necessarily the same guy that was doing, what he did when he first got in the UFC, doing backflips off the cage and just hitting buttons, trying to chain strikes together. He's not doing that, but he's still a very exciting fighter. Since he's moved up to middleweight, he has been able to, I guess, control, because when he was at welterweight, he drained himself. He just wasn't performing how he could with the energy, the weight cut, things like that. Now he's at middleweight. Right. He's kind of found himself, similar to how some of these other guys are, like Kevin Holland going to welterweight. You find your division, you perform better. That's kind of what he's doing. On the other hand, we got Ihor, who, he's a guy who's been at light heavyweight. He's found middleweight. He's a guy too.
He's a Sambo guy. I know you're proud of him.
I am a fan of him. He's the one who actually ruined Shogun's retirement fight. It was I remember that. It was very sad, but he had to do what he had to do. This is another fight where the line is aggressively large. This time, Michelle is the one minus 720. Ihor is plus 450. Is this fight that big of a difference? Like, should it be that drastic, or what are we seeing here?
It definitely shouldn't be because I mean, Eeyore definitely has the grappling to take down uh Pereira. Michelle? Is it
Michelle,
Michelle?
Michelle,
Okay.
yeah, I got
To
the
take down Michelle Pereira. I think that's definitely pretty aggressive because I can't name the last time I saw Pereira on the ground and like thought, oh man, he has decent, wrestling. Like just by goes to the ground, I don't know what's gonna happen at all. And I think it's gonna definitely go to the ground. I think
really.
he needs to. This is the kind of fight where he probably needs to keep his distance a little bit. He's known, he's flashy. He jokes around. He'll go in there. He'll mess with you a little bit. He'll slap you open handed, things like that. But this is an opponent that I believe, like that contrasts you perfectly. He's not like Eeyore doesn't have the striking to hang with you. He knows that. I watched Eeyore start a fight off immediately with a takedown because that's how aggressive he will go. He will go for it if he believes he can take you down, and that's his only chance to victory. This is a fight where it's gonna. I think that's gonna slow down Pereira, and I'm actually hesitant because part of me wants to actually go with Eeyore for this fight. Because though I think Michel Pereira is a serious fighter, I think he's gonna have trouble closing the distance with strikes while at the same time making them a significant and not getting caught up in a clinch or a takedown situation. Because I just don't think his grappling will be enough to keep him off of him or continuously stand back up. I know he's decently pretty strong. He strikes very furious. He strikes ferociously. His kicks are great. He has a really good overhand. He's crazy when it comes to his strikes, flying knees, all kind of crazy stuff comes out of nowhere. But at the same time, I mean, are you really gonna risk all of that with an opponent that wants to get that close to you, who wants to grab literally anything possible and go for a takedown? It's gonna slow him down a bit. He's gonna have to think about his movements a little bit, or he's gonna have to just go for a lot of front kicks, leg kicks, a lot of jabs, which isn't who he is. So I think this fight's gonna eventually turn into a wrestling match. And once that happens, I think Eeyore's gonna take this win. I know that's the unpopular opinion here, but there has to be an upset somewhere, and part of me thinks that's the one that's gonna happen.
Wow. Okay. I mean, it's not a bad analysis. It's not a bad assumption because you're right. There's a stark difference on the ground. We haven't really seen Michel in situations where he's had to wrestle up and defend himself in that way. Ihor, on the other hand, we know, if he thinks he can strike with you, he'll strike with you.
That's true.
He'll go down. But you know, in his last three fights, he's been knocked out twice. So, against some strikers. So he might be a little more hesitant to go that path. So it's a hard one. I don't think the upset happens here though. I
I
mean,
think I think it's a trap. This is a trap fight. This is Vegas like grinning like maniacally, just like yes, please put your money on Pereira, please do.
which if you had said 3 years ago, like, oh, Michel, he's not like if you'd have gave me that, I would have been like, he's not really a serious fighter. He's trying to get bonus money. He's trying to, make a name for himself. Da 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 da. He's not in the right weight class. He's got all these things working against him.
Right.
But I think once because he had a fight at welterweight, he missed weight. It was like a whole thing. It was kind of embarrassing. I think after that, he became a serious fighter. He said, all right, I'm still gonna, be myself. Last fight we saw him come out and do a whole choreography, whole dance
Yes.
routine. But once he got in the octagon, he was very serious. He was putting it on the other guy. Like it wasn't anything to play with. I think that's what we're gonna see here. I don't know if he'll have anything planned because he did the whole thing last time. Dana White wasn't really that big of a fan of all of
He
the
never
mumbo
is.
jumbo going on. We know how he is about that.
Right.
But man, in his home, yeah, I don't know. I don't see Michelle losing this one.
Hey, like I said, I typically would agree with you. I think there has to be an upset somewhere. This is going to be the one that some of you may look at your phone, waiting towards the end of the card. You say, "Oh, who won that fight?" And you're gonna be surprised, like, "Yo, how did he lose this? What happened here?" And I don't know. I can't even describe to you exactly how it's gonna happen. If this is gonna be just a mauling on the ground, or if it's gonna be, a slick submission, or exactly how it may happen. Maybe he actually just is. Michelle can't just figure it out. Maybe he can't get a good punch on him. Maybe he just, I don't know. But nonetheless, I think it's gonna turn into ground and pound for a sub, particularly.
Okay, we'll have to see. This is a big fight for Michel. I mean,
Oh
he's
yes,
won his last 5. Paul Craig and Cal, they're both like, I think Cal's like 14, Paul Craig's like 13. One of those guys is gonna have to lose. So there's gonna be a ranking open, most likely, for
yeah,
Michel if he was to win. So this could be his entrance into the top 15. And once he gets to the top 15, that's where things get, you
interesting,
know,
very
interesting,
interesting.
because his style, his flair,
I love
you
it.
know,
I really do love it.
you know, I, I'm not gonna say there's a direct ABC line for him to get into the top 5, into the title talk, but there are fights for him in the top 15 that could get him there. I mean, him versus a Chris Curtis, for example, easily.
Right?
Him versus Jacker Manson. Um, I mean, even down the line, we get
And he's
guys like,
exciting too, which Dana loves that.
that's what I'm saying. Like, he's going for finishes each fight. He's not playing the decision game. I don't know. I think he's an exciting prospect that we might see. You know, he's got to take care of business here. He's got a formidable opponent ahead of him. But we'll have to see. Uh moving on, the third fight on the main card. Two guys that we've talked about on here many times before. Anthony Smith, Vitor Petrino. I'm gonna be 100% honest with you. I know I'm the biggest Anthony Smith hater on the planet. I'm picking him to win this fight. I'm not gonna lie.
You pick him to what?
I'm picking him to win this fight.
You pick him to win this fight?
Anthony Smith's gonna win this
Bro, okay. I need to kind of know what's your reasoning to him winning this fight.
fight.
What is that reasoning?
American blood, baby. Nah.
Okay.
Anthony Smith. We could say whatever we want to say about Anthony Smith. We can say he loses the big ones. We can say there's nothing special about him. We could say he's on the edge of his career. He's old, or da, 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 da. We can do all of this. At the end of the day, Anthony Smith's one of the most experienced light heavyweights that we have in the game.
More experience.
So experience doesn't matter.
I mean, it matters, but I mean, if I suck and I have 100 fights under my belt, and I still suck, I suck. That's just the nature of the game there.
I can't say that he sucks.
Okay, I'm exaggerating. He doesn't suck, but whatever like that ranking is above like suck, like that's what he is. Mid is he's mid. He's mid.
I'm not even gonna argue. I'm not even gonna argue that, because I'm not the biggest Anthony Smith fan. Like, I'm by no means am I on this podcast to defend Anthony Smith and make a huge case for him. But for this specific fight, I think he has the tools to beat Vitor if he can stop takedowns, which he's been known to, stop those. On the feet, I'm not gonna say he has like an advantage, I'm not gonna say any of that. I just think if it stays on the feet, he's more than equipped to get out of here. He's not gonna knock him out. He's not gonna finish him. 3 rounds, 20, 29, 28 decision. I think he's more than capable.
I'll give you this because I did note his experience as a point for him. Because he's fought, just to name a couple names. Rockage, Teixeira, Gustafson, Jones, John Jones, Shogun Hu, Rashad Evans, Thiago Santos, and Ryan Spann. He's fought some top of the division ex-former champions, contenders. He's fought some great guys. Don't get me wrong. He's lost about half of those. But nonetheless, he does have the experience, against those fighters. So I'll give you that. The one thing about that list of names is that he fought them more or less, a few of them, until in the beginning of his career when they weren't necessarily established outside of those names like Jones, Rua, probably Rashad. The rest of those names he fought towards like the middle to end of his not his career, but like of his more current time, modern time of UFC. So if you take that into account, it's like you're getting older. You haven't gotten any better. Your progression at this point, you're regressing, if anything. I don't see what do you do with the likes of bro. Vitor is an animal. He's literally just a solid mass of muscle. He is explosive. He's athletic. He's hungry. He's aggressive. If he gets you on the ground and pound, it's not like he's known for having ridiculous grappling, but his ground and pound, he hits so hard. It doesn't matter what he hits you with. It may just that one punch may take you out. Especially if it goes to the ground. He does have a tendency to kind of out muscle you on the ground. He doesn't have great technique, where I do think Anthony Smith can possibly take advantage of. But that is, for me, leads into if Vitor's cardio is anything close to tolerable for a 3-round fight, he shouldn't have to worry about that. Because you're stronger than Anthony Smith. You're stronger than him. You're younger than him. You're more explosive than him. You're a better striker than him. Grappling, I think, is more of a coin flip because, like I said, he doesn't have great technique, but he's very strong, so he can outmuscle you. You put those things into a little ball of what's going to happen next. It's a Vitor win by KO or TKO. This fight, I hope. No, I'm not gonna say I hope it retires him, but I mean, Anthony Smith to wake Smith the flowers. This isn't your game anymore. It's a young man's game, and as you keep progressing, I understand you love fighting, but it's the end of the line for you, bud.
Nah, he just came out and said he is terrified of retirement, so he's gonna go harder.
He's gonna start looking like some of those older guys that went out sad.
No, I mean, one thing again about Anthony Smith, as an experienced guy as he is, it's not oftentimes that you find these experienced guys losing back-to-back fights. Now, if you're going through a gauntlet, every top-ranked UFC fighter is going to go through a gauntlet sometimes. So there's going to be times where you lose 2 in a row. There's going to be times where you can't necessarily, bounce back from all that. I think Dustin Poirier is the only one who has never lost 2 in a row or something like that. I think he can use some of his past experiences, more, not even the very past, the John Jones, the Rashad, all of those fights. They definitely help you, but I don't think those fights are going to help him in this fight. Now, his recent ones against, he lost to Khalil Roundtree, who is 1 fight away from fighting for the title. He's lost to Magomed Ankalaev, who's, in that title contention as we speak. Johnny Walker, while unserious, you talked to Johnny Walker, last year. He's right in title contention too. He's faced
right.
the top of the division. I don't think Vitor has necessarily done that or seen that. He beat Tyson Pedro last, who I think I had Tyson Pedro winning that fight, who I predicted to win, and Vitor won that. But outside of that, he doesn't have much top-ranked experience. Now, that doesn't always matter. In this case, I think it will.
Look, Vitor, look at the man in front of you. Don't worry about all that noise. Don't worry about that noise, man. This is don't just take him lightly. I would say that, because there is a possibility that he could have went into camp like, this is old ass Anthony Smith I'm about to fight here, and he hasn't been good since sliced bread. So don't take that approach either. This is don't ruin your chances of being great, being a name one day, because you lost to Anthony Smith in 2024. Just go in there and fight your fight. I think there's no way Vitor takes his L.
Hey, you're predicting the upset on the last fight. I'm gonna do it on this fight. So
Hey, great.
call a spade a spade. But again, am I putting money on Anthony Smith to win this fight? No, not absolutely not. I am not that sold on him, but I don't know. My gut feeling just tells me Anthony has some more left in the tank. Yeah, he kind of sees the guard at light heavyweight. He's probably intrigued. There's a lot of moving parts in the division. This might be his little chance to scrape by and get a top fight. I don't know. We'll have to see. Co-main, man. Co-main.
This is an interesting
Again,
one. Very interesting.
hey, Jonathan Martinez, I'm sold. I'm sold on
You're
him.
sold.
I'm sold on him. That's I think he's gonna beat Jose, man.
The word on the street is everyone's waiting for him to throw a kick and shatter his shin off a check by Jose. That's the word on the street.
I don't know which street in Rio. Like I don't know which street that is.
Look, man. All I'm saying is, we talk about experience just a second ago. We're talking about the king.
Here's the difference, though. He was out the game. He was
and
out.
He's back, and he's
he had 1 foot out the door, man. He had a foot out the door.
So did so many fighters.
Nah,
so did Henry Cejudo.
Not a lot. And we see. What do you mean? It's a terrible example. It's a horrible example because we see he actually had 2 feet out the door. Like he was out for years and came back. And I thought he looked pretty good, but 2 losses in a row and not the greatest. Not many people can do that, man. We saw GSP do it.
Bro, don't get me started there because
he did it.
It was Michael Bisping, bro.
I'm trying to help your argument.
I know, but you brought up, that sticks me, bro. But
Michael Bisping was a valid champ, so I don't know.
That's a whole other story. I'm not a storyteller.
All right.
So as far as Jose Aldo goes, bro, we're talking about one of the greatest featherweights the world has ever seen. We're talking about a fighter who's had one. You're okay, but that doesn't take away from the fact.
Just letting you know,
it doesn't take away that he's one of the greatest featherweights we've ever seen.
He is.
We're talking about a guy who's had some of the greatest striking we've ever seen. Everything Jonathan does offensively, Jose did that. Jose may have paved the way for him to fight that way. He was watching Jose back in WEC, getting it in as a 24-year-old, fighting for the championship. Jonathan saw that, and he was inspired to fight like old Jose. Because that's exactly how he fights. He fights like old Jose. Now, does he have youth? Does he have a little cardio? Okay. He's a good fighter. I'll give you that. He has good takedown defense. A lot of his game looks a lot like Jose's, but just a little slowed down, not as fast paced as Jose used to be. But Jose Aldo, as long as this fight is striking and on the feet, man, let me tell you, he has an opportunity. He has a chance. His boxing has gotten literally better. Every single time he's gotten into the octagon, I can't imagine he stopped boxing. His kicks, he has stopped kicking a little bit. He has slowed down on the kicks. I don't know why, but it seems like that's kind of something. As his boxing's gotten better, he's stopped kicking as much as he used to. But it doesn't take away from the fact that he has it. He has it. He may bring it back out for Jonathan. He may get back into those leg kicks, those body kicks, those crazy head kicks from nowhere. He'll get back into that bag. And then look, the old man has old man moves. Get you in the clinch, wear you out a little bit. Put you against the cage, couple knees, couple elbows, couple elbows, break out of there. We good now. Like you're using all that energy. We put you against this cage a little bit. He's gonna hit him with some old man moves too now. Jose Aldo is still like that, regardless if he's coming back from retirement. He didn't stop. I'm sure he was still training. I'm sure about that part. Jose, I'm stamping it. Jose Aldo. I'm not just saying that because he's one of my Mount Rushmores. I'm saying this because he is like that.
That's not a bad Hey, you're gonna get no flack from me because I know Jose. He's like you pointed out to me earlier this week. Many people regard him as the greatest featherweight, although this fight is at bantamweight, but regard him as the greatest featherweight of all time, which definitely has its place.
Volkanovski
But
said that.
man, Jonathan Martinez is hot, bro. He's hot.
He is. He hot. He hot in the streets. He hot.
He's hot. He's taking out Giannis, Said Nurmagomedov. He took out Cub. Anytime you take out Cub on the feet, like you know that you got them.
You know what? Low key, that needs to be a thing in itself. It needs to be studied the path of fighters after taking out Cub striking in their career success, because it is like kind of high. It is like oddly high. Your success after outstriking Cub.
Because Cub is dangerous. He's crisp. He's dangerous, but he's crisp. So you can't just go in there and hey, I'm gonna BMF Justin Gaethje, Max Holloway, and just start throwing because you're gonna get pieced. You have to precisely dominate him and take him out, which I don't know. Jonathan Martinez did. It's hard. It's a pick'em. It's close to being a pick'em. I think. What do they got? They got John at -140, Jose plus 120. Those are some good odds. I'm not gonna lie. Those are.
Yeah.
I'm again not a betting man. If I was, I'm hammering Jose as the dog just for value purposes strictly. But I don't know, man. Jonathan Martinez is hot. At least a 5-fight win streak. Like, I don't know.
One of those kicks get checked. Man, I'm trying to tell you, this fight will go a whole different way. You're gonna see a lot less kicks getting thrown. I don't know. I will say that I don't know if his boxing game is sharp enough. You know, he throws a lot of kicks. He throws straight. He throws hooks. But he throws a lot of kicks in his fights. I don't know if Jose in his experience checks a couple of those. He's gonna I'm fight. I gotta box this guy then. What do you do? How do you? You're gonna outbox Jose Aldo? Show me. Show me. Show me. Show me.
I don't know. Well, Jose don't throw no kicks no more though. You're right.
Yeah, I know. I don't know why. Maybe age. Maybe
wear and tear.
Explosiveness. Wear and tear. He may have bad shins, bad ankles now from throwing all those kicks back in his day. I don't know why. I would love someone to like ask him. Like Nina, ask him, bro. Like you're with him. Like what? Why isn't he throwing kicks anymore?
I mean, I think the velocity and the way he threw him, he wasn't throwing them like Pereira, like how Pereira throws Alex Pereira, Poetan, how he throws his kicks. He kind of just flicks his leg out there, and it's damaging, but he just kind of flicks it. Bro, Jose back in the day, he was sprinting full force. Chris Weidman,
soccer player.
He was Chris Weidman versus what's his face? When he broke his leg.
Anderson.
No. Well,
you're talking about the broke. Oh yeah, you're talking about
the other Uriah Hall.
The other break.
Like how Chris Weidman threw that kick as hard as he could. That's how Jose was, especially against Uriah Faber. Like he was throwing the hardest kicks in history.
He was launching those.
Bound to have some wear and tear. I don't know. We'll have to see. Like I said, Jonathan Cottrell just pointed out, he said he beat Said. That's why you're on him like this. I just want to point out, Said is not a part of Father's plan. He is unrelated to the other Nurmagomedovs. He is of no relation, so I have no stake in that fight. I don't put anything more because he beat him. Although Said is tough. Don't get it twisted though. Said's tough, but no relation. He's not built the same. He wasn't raised the same. He wasn't from the trenches. He wasn't from the hills. He wasn't from the mountains. So, that's enough of him.
This man talks about Father's plan for years now. Bro.
It's the best plan. Main event. Alexander Pantoja, Steve Erceg. One that we didn't really see coming. I thought it was a joke when I first seen it, because I'm like, we're giving a title fight to the 10th guy.
Right.
We've seen Erceg fight, but it was never like a important fight, if you know what I mean. It was never a contender match. It was just kind of like a, you know, a featured prelim or something like that. And now he finds himself with not a lot of UFC experience. If you look at his track record, he doesn't have that many UFC fights. He's been in the organization for less than a year. I think he made his debut in June of last year. So
That's
within
crazy.
a year, he's fighting for the title now. Before we even get into the X's and O's, is he deserving, or is this a product of Pantoja taking out the top 10?
Okay. I think this is interesting because looking into Usyk, what I realized was he was a former champion of another promotion, and I feel like outside of this fight, he was getting the hype wasn't necessarily behind him like publicly, but Dana knew he's a really good. He was driving him to be a top guy. Like he wasn't gonna sit there and be unranked for 3, 4, 5 fights. Like it was you got 1 or 2 in. All right, you're ranked. Like let's get to it because you're somebody who knows what they're doing. But of course, I do think ultimately Pantoja and what he's done to the division is kind of crazy. I pull up the stats of what he's done to a lot of these fighters at this point now top 11. He was 3-0 against Moreno, 2-0 against Royval. He's 0-0 versus Amir, 1-0 versus Kai Kara France, 0-0 versus Nicola, 1-0 versus Cape, 1-0 Alex Perez, 0-0 with Muhammad, 1-0 against Matt Schnell, 0-0 against Tim Elliott. All your favorite fighters have taken big O's to Pantoja. Like anyone who you think, hey, I mean, I will have to see that fight get ran back again because I mean, he's probably still they've lost multiple times.
Right.
Outside of this fight with Usyk, you could have maybe decided to have him fight maybe Kai again, though Kai just lost, so you probably have to have Kai fight someone else first. So that's already a problem. There's a couple names in here who he hasn't, fought at all yet. But I mean, whether they just fought recently or maybe they just fought someone else and lost, whatever the case may be, it doesn't necessarily feel genuine to give them a shot. I think this may have been Dana White saying, all right, I have 3 names at best who you could possibly fight. He probably told him his opinion. Usyk probably makes the most sense. He's a guy we want you to be up there. He has the skill to be up there anyway. This is the fight you should probably take. I think Pantoja doesn't care. I think he put anyone in front of him, he's gonna fight them. He's fought the best already. Ultimately, that's why we're here now. We're here because he's cleared the division of I know they all weren't title fights, but you beat Moreno and Royval 3-0 and 2-0. What do you like? Like, come on now. Like, what is it you want him to really do? Outside of this fight, he should probably be waiting. And I mean, that's not. He just became champion again. Like, not again. He just became champion. He doesn't want to wait. Probably, it's too early to have him change divisions. Like, he needs to fight somebody. So here we go with Usyk, which I do think this is going to be closer than a lot of you think it's going to happen. Usyk doesn't jump off the page at you, but he's very mature. He is very crisp. He's very technical. The dirtier Pantoja can make a fight, the better the odds are of him winning that fight. Usyk does not. He fights the complete opposite. Unlike Moreno and Royval, and even sometimes even Kai at times, they'll get in there, and if it's a bang out, that's what we got. We're gonna throw we're gonna go for a whole bunch of techniques, kicks, punches, maybe some frantic takedowns. We're gonna scramble. That is not Usyk. He is very clean cut. He looks like a guy you run by, and so you run by in the street, you bump him, you think, well, you better not look at me because we're gonna have a problem. Really is a killer. Really, you mess with him, like he is so much better than you think he is. I've been wrestling with this. At first when we first started the show, I was like, this is Pantoja all day. Then I thought, man, like the script is the script written? Is the script
Yeah.
written for Ursig to reset the division? Because I mean, if he wins, that does create a little situation in the division that's kind of like, okay, it's kind of all meant for himself now. What are we gonna do? It's a healthy division again. A lot of new matchups, especially for Ursig. Honestly, I know what I'm gonna go with my gut here, and I'm gonna go Usyk for a win here. He's very clean. If he can keep the fight not looking so grimy, not looking so dirty, keep the pressure off of him a little bit. Maybe Pantoja's been known for, as the fight kind of goes on, his cardio in those like third, fourth round kind of to die down a little bit. If he can take advantage of that, I don't know, man. I think there's an opportunity for him here to definitely steal rounds. I hope he can finish him. It wouldn't be on the ground; it would have to be striking. But I think there's an avenue here for him, possibly.
Is there an avenue for him? Is there really? I mean, what is Steve's path to victory? Because, like you said, sometimes we've seen Pantoja fade, and I'll be the first person to say there's fights where I'm watching Pantoja, specifically when he fought Moreno, and there's times where I'm watching him and I'm like, man, he's fading. Like Moreno's about to put it on, he's about to step it up, and then Pantoja just keeps going. He
He
figures it
does.
out. He finds
He
a
does keep
way.
going.
So I can't even lean on that anymore, man. I don't know where Steve's path to victory is. I agree with you. I don't think this is going to be a blowout. I don't think it's, as drastic as many people seem. Like, I do think Steve is, I don't want to say deserving to be here, but he is going to prove why he's here.
That makes
When
sense.
he fights, he's going to prove that he belongs. We're going to see that he belongs. All that said, I just don't see his path to victory. Pantoja, he can out grapple him. He can out wrestle him. Defeat, like I said, it's like you said, it's going to come down to, can Pantoja make this dirty? Or is Steve going to fight clean? Because we've seen when it's a dirty fight, he struggles. So I don't know. Is his path to victory keeping the fight as clean as possible and fighting from the outside? He is a taller fighter. He's 5'8". He probably has the reach advantage at flyweight. Is that his path to victory on the outside, controlling distance?
I would say that's definitely his path to victory, and you can't allow Pantoja to dictate the pace of the fight, because there's gonna be times like he's fought. I mean, I'm gonna keep bringing their names up. Moreno and Royval. Those are two guys we're just gonna clash in the middle at some point, and it's gonna be strike, clinch, strike, takedown, scramble, get back up. It's gonna be just crazy. It's gonna be craziness. And Pantoja, he lives for that. He lives for those situations. He may while you're scrambling, hold on to a leg. Now he has a leg lock on you. He may go for a takedown to try to establish position. And if Usyk strikes me as a very high IQ fighter, and if you evaluate what Pantoja wants to do, the game plan, his game plans are very straightforward. He'll strike with you, but he's striking not to get a takedown. He wants to damage you. But eventually, that's what's coming next. He's going to grapple. He's going to clinch you, go for a takedown, get on top of you, either ground and pound, but more or less probably go for a submission. That's like very straightforward what he wants to do. Bro, as long as he's striking with you, circle. Please circle. People are going to call it running. It's not running. His opponent is trying to literally just walk through me, and I'm not allowing him to do that. Just circle, get away from the power, be very aware of him going for a takedown at the end of a combination. And as long as he's on your outside of your distance, kick. Keep the kick simple though. Leg kicks, maybe head kicks. Be careful about body kicks. Be careful about him catching the kick. Go for straights down the middle. Jabs, crosses. Go for a good hook or uppercut if he does seem to kind of get a little too close. But get back to circling. Outpoint him. you can outpoint him, and I think you can do enough damage to him striking wise to get him uncomfortable, especially if he cannot get a takedown on you. I think if you do that, this fight is going to be debatable. I'm gonna call it split decision. It's gonna be a split decision dub for Usyk.
I shouldn't say ever. I do find it hard to support or pick a fighter that I already know is going to be on the back foot circling. Like, I find that difficult to support. Not even because I think it's a bad game plan, but it's just the tail of the tape. Oftentimes when you're on the back foot and you're circling and doing things like that, it's hard. It's way harder to be successful. You have to be elite at countering. And I mean, even the most elite counter punches we've seen, like Izzy, we've seen him get put out kind of circling on the back foot. I mean, shoot. Nicolau from last week against Alex Perez. We literally discussed it on the pod. We said Perez is a very forward fighter. Nicolau, he's going to be on the retreat. He's going to be on the back foot. And that's kind of how it played out. So I find it hard to necessarily support Usyk when I know that's how he's going to be. Now, maybe he decides, hey, I'm going to take the fight to him today. Then, maybe I'll be more inclined. But until I see that on the back foot, I don't know if I see the path. I don't know if I see it.
You're definitely right. It needs to come from, you need to be circling, but you have to be looking for your opportunities. You can't be circling all fight and not throwing. Like, you're definitely right there. You have to look for your counters. You have to probably give him some feints. Definitely give him some feints. Definitely feint to see what he wants to do with you. Because if you can get that out of him, you can start to game plan your way back to the attack. So you're definitely right. It comes down to him having to circle, but see your opportunities, take advantage of them, counter strike. I will say I don't know how good his counter striking necessarily is, like at least at this level, because I mean this is Pantoja we're talking about at the end of the day. I think that the path is a very complex path. It's not very straightforward at all, but I could see it happening. I could see it as one of the three scenarios of how this fight can play out. Granted, the other two scenarios goes Pantoja way, but I think this is the one scenario where if this fight goes like how I think it could go, this could be a split decision win for Usyk.
We'll have to see tomorrow night. Eyes are going to be glued now that I know people are picking Usyk. I mean, it's not even a underdog pick though. That's the thing. Like, Usyk is -1, or he's +180. So it's not like it's some wild thing.
Vegas knows.
Or he's +155 actually. Pantoja's -185. So it's not a crazy thing. We'll have to see. I'm sure Moreno and Royval and Cape and all these other guys, I'm sure they're rooting for Usyk, because you're right. This really would open up so many different fights in the division. Kai Kara France.
Right.
I don't know. We'll have to see. Good card, man. Rio, they showed out. We'll have to see how this goes. Got some good fights on the horizon. Even next week's fight night, UFC St. Louis. Your boy, your favorite fighter in the world, Derek Lewis, makes his return to the octagon, facing Rodrigo Nascimento. We got Joaquin Buckley back in the building. We got some interesting things. How you feel about Derek back in the limelight?
Bro, this is Derek Lewis, man. If he's not winning by overhand right or a hook, it's not gonna be a win. And he's fighting. I didn't do my homework on Rodrigo yet, but Rodrigo, he has the kryptonite on him. The question is, does he know how to use the kryptonite? He has it on him though. Bro, takedown, takedown, ground and pound. We know Derek Lewis has, if he can't outmuscle you, next to no understanding of how to get back up to his feet, probably because he's just too heavy. He doesn't, that's a lot of weight he's carrying, gets tired. But the kryptonite's on you, Rodrigo. It's on you. Just figure out. Ask Batman how to beat Superman with it, because you can definitely figure that out. It's not hard. It's very set. Do not get into any sort of a bang out with him quite really at all. Do not allow him to corner you against the cage. Just fight the way you fight literally every other fight. And please just don't let this Derrick Lewis guy get back into the top 5, top 10.
So he's at 12 right now. So he's pretty out the way. So he's, nothing really to worry about on your end.
Unserious, man. Unserious fighters.
Joaquin Buckley, it seems like he's a star again. Is that what that's kind of how I feel, because he got that viral knockout in 2021 and he was blowing up, like he was the greatest thing. And I think he got a few wins after that, but then he kind of went on a losing streak up and down at middleweight, and then he decided to go to welterweight, which we talked about earlier with Michel Pereira and things like that. Some people get in a different division, they get a new sense of identity. It seems that's the way he's heading. It seems like he's a star. Am I tripping?
No, he's a star in my eyes. He has the personality for it. He's exciting. He's excited as a fighter himself. He enjoys this. What was it? This is last fight, got a dub and hit the function immediately after. Or no, was that before the fight? Was that before actually? Before the fight, hit the function before the fight. That's crazy, bro.
He was partying.
He was at a party before the fight. Then came in and said, "All right, let's go get us a dub real quick." That's crazy.
Over Luke.
If he was to lose that, the shame he'd get shamed. He gets shamed.
Oh, for sure.
But the fact that he won that fight, though, look, I think he has it. He has the star factor. He has the mouth. He can talk. He talks good game. Pause. He definitely has what it takes to kind of really be treated like a star. He needs to rack up the wins to doing it. I think this is the start of a beautiful thing we could be seeing from Joaquin Buckley.
No, I agree. I agree with Joaquin. He said he should, because I think he's from St. Louis. He was saying and imploring Dana White to let him be the main event, which I wouldn't have minded them swapping him out. I understand though, because it's Derrick Lewis, so people are going to tune in to see Derrick Lewis. I'm going to tune into we tune into all the cards anyways, but if I was a casual, I would tune into this card to see Derrick Lewis, because you never know what you're going to get.
Facts.
But I Joaquin Buckley very well could have headlined this. We got a lot, bro. There's a lot of good fighters on this card. Carlos Olberg out of City Kickboxing. Alonzo Menafield, 15-3. He's always in the mix. I got 3 people I want to ask you about, though, and just see your opinion. Are you in or are you out on them? If you know them. The first, Alex Caceres. Are you in or you out on him?
Bro, I couldn't be any more out on him.
I don't understand why.
Bro, he's been a prospect since like 2013. It hasn't turned into anything. I think there was like at one point, maybe it was maybe 3 years ago, he was on like a 4 or 5 fight win streak. Lost one, like 1, 2, then lost another one. He just can't string them together. When he first came to the UFC, he was so exciting. I believe he was on the Ultimate Fighter, if I'm not mistaken. I remember watching him, and he was kicks. I believe he's into a few different martial arts. He studied what is it? It's what Bruce Lee did, like Jun Kan Lee. Something like that. He studied that, Taekwondo. He's done it all, and he's an exciting fighter. He just can't string wins together. I would have loved to at least see him be like, if he could stick around that 5, 6, 7, 8 number, and like, kind of always, if he was there, I would think, what, at any given point, it could turn around for him if he just kind of gets together. But he doesn't. So at this point, throw him on a card. I'm gonna watch the fight, but I'm out.
You're out. Wow. I mean, I get it. I mean, he's 21-14, so he's certainly taking his L's. He's got an interesting fight against Sean Woodson, who's like the tallest featherweight in history. Like, he's 6'2". Sean Woodson is a 6'2" featherweight. So,
that's funny.
I don't know.
Like heavyweight. He's a 6'2".
Alex Caceres is 5'10", so I mean, this is a big featherweight matchup. But you're out on him. Won't even go further. What about Chase Hooper? He is, at the time, he was the youngest UFC athlete like on the roster until Raul Rosas came. I think he made his debut. He was like 20 or something. And he's had an interesting career because he's really like a true grappler. Like he is a grappler. Like he's going in there, he's trying to submit you, he's trying to grapple you, he's trying to get tangled on the feet. And it was interesting seeing him come into the UFC as, this type of grappler at such a young age. Even when you saw him, you could tell like, wow, this is a boy. And he's, fighting 29, 30, 31-year-old men. And he got exposed on the feet a few times. And, it is what it is. He's since cleaned up some stuff. Are you in or are you out on him?
Based off of right now, I would say I'm out on him in the thought that like I'm waiting. I'm watching him and I'm waiting to see him come up, become ranked. I think he has a lot to figure out still. Especially striking wise. I think he's a great grappler, but he needs to find a serious gym and kind of turn some of those weaknesses into at least tolerable functions of his game. He's like you said, he's a great grappler. He can get any kind of chokehold. You go to the ground with him, it can happen any kind of way if he would like it to go. But he just needs to put the full game together because it won't ever actually go his way until that happens. Because the guys who are ranked, I mean, come on now. If you don't have a striking and if you're not either really good at stopping one thing and just happen to be just really great at the other, I mean, hey, you can sometimes get away with stuff like that, but you're going to need a striking game. You're going to need a wrestling game, especially in these lower divisions where you guys are all just so technical, so quick twitch and fast. Like, you're going to have to some kind of way, kind of figure it out. So as of this exact moment, I'm out on him, but I'm hoping he can put it all together.
Okay, 0 for 2. He's out. Boy Ron is out on 2. What about last one, Terrence McKinney, the guy
Terrence.
You said what?
I like Terrence.
In or out?
He's young. He's, if I'm not mistaken, I forgot. I forgot. I think he's around 28, maybe 29, 30, somewhere in there. But he's had his career is it's been short. He started, I believe, somewhere in like 2021, 2020, somewhere in there. I think he has a decent package. He's an all-around fighter that, I mean, as far as the striking goes, is really good. Come on, dog. That wasn't that flagrant. He's really good as a striker. I think he understands his defensive disciplines, how to stay up on the feet, how to avoid certain positions. If he ever really needed to, I'm sure he could probably get into some kind of wrestling bag. But either way, he's young enough where he can still grow still. And I think overall he has a bright future. I think of those three fighters, he probably is the most complete fighter of those three. And probably with that being said, I think he has the best chance right now if he was to see someone that was the top 8 tomorrow. I think he of those three fighters, he'll have the best chance with that fighter. So I'm gonna go with Terrence McKinney. I'm in.
Over Caceres.
Yeah.
I think Caceres, you put him in there with he lost, but he faced people like Giga.
You're right. You're right. His career's long. He's been doing this for a long time.
Yeah.
Like for how long can I be in on you? If it was like 5 years ago, I'd have been like, yeah, man, he still has a chance still. Bro, it's still I can't not forever.
I understand. You're over it. Terrence, like I said, exciting guy. The UFC had a rocket ship to his back. It seemed like he could do no wrong. He put some bad film on tape. He got knocked out a few times. He's
Right.
since rebounded. He's on a 2-fight win streak, although the UFC fed him some cans, I think, to get his confidence back up. But he is an interesting. He's actually the underdog in that fight. But we'll talk about that, next week. Just
Sure.
interesting. Just interesting. See who you're in out on. Just some other UFC news around the way, man. Your boy John Jones. He's been in the headlines lately.
Yes,
A
man.
lot going on with him. He's back in the gym. He's back training. And when John gets back training, that's when he starts tweeting. That's when people start tweeting about him. Latest news, latest talk is that he's trying to, and again, I don't want to say he's ducking Tom Aspinall, but he's trying to bypass Tom and look at other opportunities. Right now, he's talking about after Stipe, should he fight Pereira? What do you make of that? Do you agree with that type of sentiment? Tom is the interim champ, by the way. Just throwing that out there.
So personally, this is a guy who's done it all. He has nothing to prove. He's at the end of his career. Like let's just keep it a buck. He's at the end of his career.
And Dish.
At this point, he's fighting for nothing but a couple dollars, and probably that's it. There's nothing more he has to prove to anybody. His legacy is cemented. He's fighting for a couple dollars at this point. I do understand he is supposed to fight Tom Aspinall because that is the right thing to do. But the hype, because the question was Alex Pereira. The hype isn't the same if you take, let's just say theoretically he lost to Tom Aspinall. John Jones versus Alex Pereira does not look the same logistically as undefeated or one loss John Jones no belt versus Alex Pereira, just the phenom that he is. Like you want to put those credibilities against each other and
Right.
quite let them have them go head to head, like fully. Having, like him fighting Tom, I feel you're putting more at risk, as far as promotion goes, as far as promoting the fight, some of the backstory, like you're putting a little bit in risk there that you don't need to do. And I understand that's unfair to Tom Aspinall, but I think he's just caught up in a situation of timing where, especially because he got hurt, he had to become interim and all of that. If there was never an interim belt, to be fought over right now, there wouldn't be a situation where we have to even ask ourselves these kind of questions. But at the end of the day, John is at the end of his career. He's done so much for the sport. He's pretty much fought anybody and everybody. Why not? Close it out with a couple huge fights. Stipe, Alex. If he beats those two, yes, run it with Tom. And then especially if he beats you, Tom, you did all that talking for no reason. And then let my man, one more fight before you, Tom. One more. He loves defending the interim title anyway. Well, let him do it one more fight.
So you agree that he could bypass Tom?
If I'm in the shoes of John Jones, I am also asking, why not Alex before Tom? It's a bigger fight. It's bigger money. It's more money.
I think regardless of anything, it's going to be the same, because let's look at this. Let's look at a John Jones versus Alex Pereira fight, and let's look at it from the whole thing. They don't have any beef with each other, so there's not going to really be any of that back and forth type of animosity during the build up, during the fight week, whatever. There's not really going to be any of that because Alex doesn't speak English, and even if he did, he's not looking to talk trash. He only talked trash to Jamal like a little bit because Jamal was being kind of fake, so he kind of had to. We're not really going to see that with John versus Alex. Now, get to the fight. How do we think the fight's going to go? It's written. It's already written on paper how it's going to go. Alex is going to try to nuke him. John's going to take him down. If John gets him on the ground, the fight's going to be over. So it's like, I guess the anticipation is going to be, is John going to be able to get him to the ground? Like, that's what we're banking on. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I want to see that over John versus Tom Aspinall, who is the consensus best heavyweight on the planet. That's not John Jones. That fight can go a million different ways. It can go to the ground. They're both savants on the ground. It can stay on the feet. You know, I do think John would have the edge on the feet, but the way Tom strikes, I mean, his power, his like, that's no walk in the park either. I think that is the more intriguing fight. Now, it may not, even the buildup, I think, would be better, especially now that Tom is kind of getting into his bag on Twitter and he's talking. They had the presser where they kind of bumped shoulders and they were sizing each other up. I don't know. I think it should be a no-brainer.
Bro, hold on. We have to remember. I know you don't like this, but the one thing about Alex Pereira, is there's murmurs, there's conversations being had. He's doing something in mixed martial arts, let alone the UFC, that we've never seen. He's taking out some of the best current and former champions. He's now defended 2 belts. Mind you, he's
defended 1 belt.
He's defended 1 belt, but like he quite literally defended the belt a second time in middleweight. He didn't win it. He doesn't have a defense, but he defended the belt.
No, he didn't defend it. That's not what defending means. Defending means you defensed it. You had defense of it.
Technically, well, I mean, there was defense. He didn't win the defense. He didn't win it, but like he literally defended. He defended the belt. Quite literally defended it. He didn't win the fight, but he quite literally defended the belt.
You're Reggie Bush reaching for the pylon right now. Like, this is crazy. He won the belt. He won 2 belts for sure. Did not defend the belt, because if we're talking about that, guys like Eddie Alvarez, defended the belt. So
you can say he does not have any defenses. He did not defense the belt. He didn't actually. You know what I'm trying to say. We're getting caught up on semantics here.
All right, yeah, okay.
Semantics. This is a Dylan move. He does this.
No, that was just crazy. You trying to talk about he defended the belt when he didn't. But again,
I'm trying to give my man his credit. I'm trying to give him his credit.
Don't give him unearned credit.
He's been in 2 championship fights in middleweight.
What does that even mean?
He's been in 2. He's been in 2 championship fights in middleweight.
He won 1 of them. So what does that mean? Just say he won the belt.
I just want to give him his credit that that's something he did.
That's not any more credit than if you won 1 belt. You don't get credit for losing. If you do, then we got to reevaluate how we have looked at past champions, and we got to reevaluate a lot of things. That's what I'm saying, is that that's a dangerous precedent. That's a dangerous precedent.
It's not that kind of, we don't want to do that. We're going to do that.
I'm just saying, because you're talking about, he gets credit for that. It's like, no, you get credit for taking the belt at middleweight and then taking the belt at light heavyweight. And he defended the light heavyweight belt. So it's like, now you get even more credit for that. Nobody's taking that away from him. But I'm not about to say
for sure.
Give. But anyways,
he fought Izzy twice. Like, that's one of the greatest fighters. That's more or less my point. More or less was the fact he fought another top-notch fighter second. Though he lost, he fought Israel Adesanya, and at that point, their 5th fight ever. 4th fight.
5th, I think.
I think their 5th fight ever. Like that. Okay, it's something like that. And that's great. That's especially a fighter like Israel Adesanya, who was trying to at one point challenge John Jones, which is crazy. Mm-hmm. But anyway, he's done all of that, and he's at the end of his career. He is like about 36, must be 37 years old. He's getting up there. He only has so many more fights in him. Why not? He's already as big as one. He walks around the size of a heavyweight. Go up a division, try it out, see what happens. And then you're putting that resume. You're putting one of the greatest runs in UFC history against the phenom, one of the GOAT, the greatest fighter in UFC history. I understand there wouldn't be actual real animosity between those two at all, but these two resumes speak for themselves. And the clashing of them, I think, is something that everyone would tune into. Everyone would buy that. They'd pre-order that. That's not day of. They're as soon as it's available, they're going to ESPN Plus and making sure that is purchased because that's gonna I think a bigger draw. Tom, look, John said it. Tom's only big in the UK. I'm not saying he's not big here. I'm not saying that. People know of him. People know who he is, but he's not the same character as Alex Pereira, who's certainly merchandise. He's not. He doesn't have the. He doesn't have. I don't know. He doesn't have the accolades that Alex Pereira has. Bro. As far as hype and this general like size of a fight, bro. I'm going Alex Pereira every single time before Tom.
He has accolades in a different division though. Like it's not that division. Like it's something completely different.
He's a Hall of Famer in kickboxing as well.
But I mean, if that's the case, then we could just start giving title shots to anybody who theoretically like deserves it based on whatever we want. Because if it's not going to be based on skill, if the interim belt doesn't mean anything, then it's like it's really just a free for all.
Look, I get the principle. I get the principle of Tom supposedly being the guy who he should fight, but we're talking about the end of like two great careers coming. Like Tom, I'm sorry, but you don't have a seat at this table, bro. You're not here with these dogs. You're not. It's unfortunate if John Jones is about 3, 4, 5 years younger, then the right thing to do will be for sure fight Tom off of the pure strength of the fact that John still has stuff to prove everywhere. He's still at his peak. He still has to do more still, just because. But the fight just thinking about it, it just is so much grander.
Is it?
Great with those. Then like you'll be stressing that fight if he fights Tom first. Let's say he does beat Tom. Like it'd be another 6 to 8 months later at best where he would be able to fight Alex, which there's no telling if Alex is even still a champion. He's taking a lot of fights these days. It's just a lot of logistics that I don't want to have to see or deal with when we can do this sooner rather than later.
I just don't. I think, and again, John doesn't have anything to prove to anyone as far as legacy, as far as accomplishments, anything he's done. So I don't say this in that regard, but I just think in the future, looking back, it's going to be harder to say, hey, this defense, made more sense at the time. Because, bro, like I said, we can call it what we want. Tom is theoretically the champ right now. Not the champ, he's not John Jones champ, but he is the heir apparent to the heavyweight division. And to let a light heavyweight just bypass that, hold the division up. The heavyweight division low-key is already a joke. Now it's about to really be a joke. It's really about to be. Imagine Pereira becomes the champ at heavyweight. Now it's a nasty.
That's crazy though. Think about that.
Nasty thing.
You know what? If it makes you feel better, would you feel better about while John faces Stipe? If Alex decided to go heavyweight, he fought for the interim title against Tom?
That would make a lot more sense. Which, again, I don't think will happen because Alex is so active
Yes, he's very active.
He just came out and said he thinks the next person should be Yuri. He thinks Yuri should be his next defense running back.
I love it.
So this is all just conjecture. It's a lot of moving parts, but that would make me feel a lot better if they set up an interim championship against Tom. Now, if Alex isn't the champ, because like I said, what if he goes out, loses to Yuri in 5 months, and Like, now what? Now John has to face Tom. If they let Alex jump the line without a belt, now it's really about to be up. Like, now it's.
I would agree. I don't think Alex would care though. Like he would fight someone else before Tom Aspinall if that was the case. Like especially if he didn't have the belt anymore, he'd be okay with fighting someone else. Like I said, he's an active fighter. He loves being active. You definitely got to give him someone like top 5, top 8, most likely, and then he wins that. You run it back. You run it, assuming Tom is still interim. Tom versus Alex, or if not, maybe Tom gets his shot, and John folds and says, "All right, I'll fight you, Tom," and then John beats Tom. John decides I'm gonna go fight Alex now. Or there's the also situation of John's no longer champion, and doesn't matter either way. He just decides, I'm not champion anymore. Tom, do whatever you want. I'm just gonna go fight Alex, which I feel like you'd be okay with that. You wouldn't if they both were not champions anymore, and like you would probably be like, okay, that's okay with that. You're okay with that, wouldn't you be?
John fighting Alex with no belts?
With no belt.
I don't want to see that.
Exactly. That's my point. You keep on putting opponents in front of him at his age, about like we're playing a dangerous game here. But let's just. But we came to a common ground. Let's just have somehow Tom fight Alex in an interim title fight, which would be also crazy to fight for a second interim title fight. But that would be already a thing within itself. That'd be crazy. But you do that, hey, winner faces the king.
And just to kind of, because honestly, this is kind of our debate of the day. This has been our debate of the day. If we just, let me ask you this: if Alex loses, if hey, Alex, you're facing Yuri, he loses the light heavyweight title. He's like, all right, I'm going up to heavyweight with no belt. He, I don't know. Tom fights John. John wins. There's no interim belt. Alex goes up to heavyweight. He faces Cyril Gane. He beats him. Now he fights for the belt. He wins. What does that mean for his legacy, the sport?
For Alex?
Yeah, he's a 3-time UFC champion in 3 different divisions, not simultaneously, but nonetheless, he's still a 3-time champ. What is that?
No cap. I would like. I like that is an almost nightmare scenario to have to think about, because all jokes aside, you have to consider him probably top 5 all time. You probably have to consider him top 5 all time.
Top 5 all time.
No one's, especially in this short of time. The strength of schedule, like I get the longevity wouldn't be there, but the strength of schedule and the fact that he's won 3 different titles, like everything you will want to have in longevity, he makes up for literally in schedule.
I mean, I guess how much do we value defenses in the UFC?
And that's why it's a nightmare, because I am someone who typically does value defenses. But if you look at all his opponents outside of 2 maybe have all been current or former champions. I mean, it doesn't get harder than that. Not only just that, he's knocked out most of them. If that's when they fought. Yeah, he only has 1 actual defensed fight as a champion, but who's ever done something like this? It's hard enough to win a title in 2 different divisions. It's harder to be a double champ. He wouldn't be a triple champ, but his resume would kind of point to depending on, especially in a time frame, he could have essentially been a triple champ. Like, it's unprecedented. It's crazy. Like, he would create a whole nother standard of like possibilities by just strength of schedule, win like finishes without having proper defenses for the title.
But does that necessarily grant you that high? Because I mean, we got guys like Conor McGregor, who before him there was no such thing as a double champ simultaneously. He's the first one to do it, and we don't consider him to be a top 5 UFC fighter of all time. So it's like I don't.
I think many would argue he's top 10 though. I think
He
me
might
and
be
you.
top 10.
I think if you really look at a top 10 list, he probably is not top 10. He's probably sitting around maybe top 15 to top 18. He's probably somewhere in reality, he's somewhere probably in there. But I think there's an argument to be made that a lot of people, off of just what they know about Conor McGregor, they'd probably say, "Oh yeah, he's probably like top 10. He's a top." They may slander me for even saying that he may be top 10. They may be saying that that's easy, like that's a no brainer. He's probably more like maybe 5, something like that. But he's probably I feel you. I think there's a lot of people who are delusional about Conor McGregor personally. But I think he probably is somewhere in the top realistically top 15, which is, if you look at those names, is outstanding still. It's outstanding.
Yeah, for sure.
Like that's a great feat either way. But he's probably somewhere because of particularly that, with the fact that he's had defenses, he's had also a pretty good strength of schedule. He doesn't have he has the longevity. He doesn't have it hasn't been continuous enough. It just wasn't. So, like every 6 months, every year, it wasn't that. If he was to have it more consistent, he'd be probably higher, but he is just not there. But I think he deservingly be top 15. I think we should all be able to agree he's somewhere in that 10 to 15 range. I believe we should be able to.
Which, again, that's open to interpretation. But I just don't know. Like, I can't put, in this scenario, I can't put Poatan over Kamaru Usman.
Because of what? Because of what, though? The defenses?
A guy who had a 19-fight UFC win streak with 5 successful defenses.
I don't have. It's hard to get into. Like,
some would argue is the welterweight GOAT. If not the GOAT, he's easily number 2. So it's like, are we going to because if we champion Alex Pereira for becoming a 3-time champ, then that has to strengthen Conor's argument. Like, it has to.
Why?
Because Conor was the first one to be a double champ. So if we're giving credit for an accomplishment with a lack of defenses, then that just strengthened Conor's argument.
Okay, but he doesn't have the strength of schedule that Alex has.
I mean, he doesn't necessarily have the strength of schedule. So is that more so what you're basing it on then? Is the strength of schedule?
If he was able to be a triple champ and with the strength of schedule being what it is, yeah, I think those two things are almost 50-50 in his particular scenario. Because of, like I said, he hasn't been doing this for not long. But in this scenario, with the amount of fights he's had in this time frame, the strength of schedule with being triple champ, yes, I would say that it's like 50-50. That is the reason why he would be champion that high.
I mean, I do hear what you're saying. I don't know if I can put him over guys like Marty. Like, I don't know if I can do that, man. His strength of schedule is definitely nice, but it's not anything crazy. Like, I understand he's had some good fights against good people, but his strength of schedule isn't like something crazy. Like, he beat Yuri, he beat Jan, he beat Izzy. 3 exceptional fighters.
Say what you want. He beat Sean Strickland.
I mean, what is that? What does that mean?
He's a former champion. He's a former champion.
I mean, if we're talking about beating former champs, then it gets even more dicey. It gets even more like if we're going based on merit, I don't know. He beat Sean Strickland, Izzy, Jan, Yuri. That's not a crazy strength of schedule. Like, yes, they're champs, things like that. Izzy and Yuri are well above Jan,
But in
who
this
is
scenario, we're talking about him being a triple champ. So we're assuming he probably would have had to have beaten Tom and John.
no. Oh, well,
Because you don't want to just have him fight. And I mean, I guess there is a scenario you could just have him fight John off of the strength of being a light heavyweight champion. But I am always on the side of they should have at least one fight before that, personally. So, if that's the case, that one fight should be against, nonetheless, like Tom Aspinall, the interim champ, which I think would make it obvious at that point. If he was to win that fight, he'd be fighting John, and if he was to win that, I mean,
okay.
it's cemented, it's written.
Well, yeah, if he defeats John Jones, then this argument's completely different. I wasn't really taking him into account. But yeah, you beat John Jones. I don't care who you are. Your ranking just shot up from wherever you were. You could be the worst guy. Now you're top 30 something. So I
Or
get that aspect.
even if it's not John, though, if he was to beat Tom and some other top 3, top 4 heavyweight,
Um,
I think there would be there's an open case.
I mean, let's look. Let's look.
There's investigation there for, like, hey, this guy is like actually crazy good.
Let's look. For hypothetically, let's say John Jones vacates the title, he retires, he's out of there. Tom Aspinall is now the champ. Alex Pereira loses the belt. He says, I'm going up to heavyweight. You can't just face the champ. So, I don't know. Let's say he faces a guy like Curtis Blades or Cyril Gane. Cyril Gane would probably be a better one. Let's say he faces Cyril Gane.
That'd be a good fight. I'd watch that.
Yeah, it should be. He beats Cyril Gane, and then he beats Tom Aspinall.
Come on, dog. How do you
No,
not? That's great chunk. Great chunk.
for sure. Well, against Tom, I'm not really giving you credit for beating Cyril Gane. He's not serious.
He is, in reality, he is serious, though.
No. He's
like I no because I do feel you. Like, I do feel you, but like we know his attitude is like he is serious. He just is on the short end of the stick here.
I mean, I suppose I'm throwing him in there with a Sean Strickland. Like, he's that level where when we look back in however many years, we're gonna be like, like that's a decent win. Like, Cyril Gane doesn't stand out on John Jones's graveyard of title defenses. He's not like the guy where like, whoa, like he really defended that against him. Like that, he doesn't stand out, I guess is my point.
I feel you.
It might stand out more on Pereira's.
I think he's more like Yair.
What does that
I think that's a better comparison.
You're saying, what do you mean?
I think Yair is more serious than like Sean Strickland would be. I think he's more like Yair when it comes to seriousness. I feel like Sean is a little disrespectful.
I'm just saying, because the only reason Sean gets any respect is because he was the champ.
I know, and like that's why it's like Sean, like Cyril Gane, like he has the ability. Let's be honest. Like we're pivoting conversations here, but like Cyril Gane has the ability.
For whatever that's worth. In a scenario where he does do that, his strength of schedule is definitely increased. But again, me personally, everybody has their different measuring sticks. I can't give someone a top 4 ranking. And this is why, because I used to have Habib in my top 4, and I was forced to take him out because I'm like, man, he just doesn't have the defenses necessary. I do think if Pereira was to do that, he would surpass Habib. I do think that. But I can't have him pass guys like Mighty Mouse who just have a million defenses, GSP million, Anderson,
Even if those defense,
Jose.
even those defense names don't come into comparison of the names that Alex fought in other divisions.
What do you mean? What did you say?
Like, even if those defenses, GSP, Mighty Mouse, Habib, against some, even though they made defense, for a lot of fights, but the guys who they defend the belt against don't necessarily stack up to them fighting like Israel Adesanya or fighting uh Jamal, Yuri, Jan. Like these are other like these are
True.
guys. These are guys.
Yeah, but like if you can't maintain the belt, I'm not gonna say anyone can win the belt because that's definitely not true.
Facts.
But under the right circumstances, certain people win the belt when they really shouldn't have it. They shouldn't. But they're a product of the circumstance. Maybe they were gifted a shot. Maybe somebody got hurt and they kind of slid in and they, things like that happen. So that's why not just getting the belt, it holds weight. Don't get me wrong, but it just doesn't hold as much weight as I think defenses. You put you get to 5 title defenses. I feel like you're just in a different category. Now, not all of them, some people defend against mid. So, you got to weight everything when you're comparing. But man, it's hard for me to put a
This
guy
is
who
so
has
unprecedented. I think it's hard because you make a good argument, but I think it's very hard to compare because like I said, I'm someone who typically finishes and defenses. That means something to me, but the ability to go out and grab 3 of them at will.
Nah,
I don't know, dog, because because it's not like anyone has ever did that before either. Like people just didn't just say, I'm gonna go ahead and grab this middleweight. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this light heavyweight. It's about that time. I'm gonna go ahead and grab this heavyweight one too. Like that's crazy.
You're not lying, man. Like I said, all hypothetical. We'll have to see how it plays out. I
For
don't
sure.
imagine we see Pereira actually go for unless he loses. If he loses like relatively soon, I think we could see him go up. I don't
Okay.
really anticipate us seeing him go to heavyweight. In
Not world
facing
champion, I
him.
don't think. I don't think world champion.
Yeah, no, I just don't. I don't know. I don't see that. So we'll have to see. Regardless, that's it's very interesting. Very interesting topic, man. That's a good show. That's a good little show.
For
I'm
sure.
surprised. I wish Pereira would have been on this Brazil card. That would have been fun.
That would have been that'd have been crazy. That'd have been fire. That'd have been a great show.
That'd have been very fun, but we needed him for 300, so
I'd have
I'm not
ball.
not mad at it. Like I said, great show. We'll definitely be back next week. UFC Fight Night St. Louis. Ron, do you have any final thoughts?
No final thoughts for the night. Have a good night. Make sure y'all tune into that Cavs basketball. I have to go lock in myself, see how we're doing. Of course, we're to the finals. I don't care what anyone says. We're to the finals.
Fourth quarter, they're up 5. It's fourth quarter is about to start, so yeah, we're definitely about to go tap into that.
Gotta go tap into that.
For the land, we will see y'all next week.